Chelsea fans, welcome back to Talking Chelsea. Welcome back to another match review where Chelsea have just secured their place in the Club World Cup final after a 2-0 victory over Fluminense. Now, we don't know who we're going to be playing in the final this Sunday between Real Madrid and PSG. We have to sit back, watch the game and see who we will be facing this Sunday. But in this video, I'm going to be going over my honest thoughts of the match itself, and then we're going to be taking a look at the match stats to see if it matches the eye test. And before we get into the video, make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you are a Chelsea fan who enjoys Chelsea content. We're on the road to 10k by the end of 2025. Now, I don't know where to start with this game. Every game that we see from Chelsea with Enzo Maresca and this squad of players, we are getting better and better and better, more defensively sound. We are playing better as a unit. The passing is crisper. We are looking like a team that is very, very hard to beat. João Pedro, what a debut from start this was. A brace, 2 unbelievable goals. We're going to talk about him a little bit later because this was a game that Chelsea dominated throughout. Yes, Fluminense had a few chances here and there. There are 2 shaky moments from Chelsea which were easily avoidable and very well defended in the end. The first being Robert Sanchez stopping in time as the ball goes past him, and you can see the cogs turning and his reactions are too slow. The ball trickles to the goal line and Cucurella is there, who anticipates the fact that Sanchez may not be there and clears the ball off the line to keep it as a Chelsea victory. Not only that, but we were very lucky to not concede a penalty after the ball was crossed in and it hits Chalobah's arm. Yes, they were in a very natural position. They were down by his sides, and you could see he was trying to get out of the way of it. It still hits his arm blatantly. Now, I think if UEFA were in charge, they would have given that penalty, no questions. And you'd probably see that penalty be given in the Premier League, if I'm being honest. However, they stuck by their roots and said his arm was in a natural position. It is not a penalty, and we got away with one there. Now, other than those 2 moments in the game, Fluminense had a bit of momentum. Let's be real, but Chelsea dominated this game throughout. And João Pedro, honestly, what an unbelievable player he seems to have been. He had 2 half chances today. 2 half chances that he turned into goals. Regardless of the finishes themselves, because they were incredible. One curling it into the top corner from outside the box. Are you okay? That's not something we've seen in a long while. But it was a half chance that he turns into a goal. Chelsea go 1-0 up. The second goal, driving the ball forward while we were on a break, cutting inside from that wide area, and absolutely driving that ball as hard as you can into the top corner, kissing the underside of the crossbar and going in. No keeper was saving that. Absolute thunderstrike. 2 half chances converted into 2 goals makes a huge difference to this Chelsea team, who struggle to be clinical and take their chances. 2 half chances turned into goals is the difference next season of Chelsea winning, drawing and losing games in all competitions, and it was so refreshing to see, because I don't think any Chelsea fan expected Pedro to score those chances, because we're so used to players not being able to convert them, going high, going wide, getting saved, getting blocked. But on this occasion, he didn't even need to do a lot. The finishes obviously took a lot of skill, but the chances were half chances, and he went, all right, cool, hold my beer, bang, goal. All right, you want me to do it again? Sweet, bang, goal. Unbelievable, so refreshing to see. Does this mean that Pedro is our new number 9? That's the question on everyone's lips. Does he start as a winger cutting inside? Because he's actually shown 2 attributes there as a number 9 who is a natural finisher and someone who can cut in off the left-hand side. Now, I don't want to just talk about João Pedro because it was the João Pedro show. It was a masterclass from him today in terms of his link-up play, getting involved, being physical, pressing, the finishes, which obviously sent us through. The clean sheet we kept was good defensively. Cucurella, amazing as always. Caicedo, that guy is a robot. Now, we are a bit concerned about Caicedo, and Enzo Maresca did say in his post-match interview that he has to do everything possible to be fit and ready for Sunday, because he did take a knock very late in the game, went down for some treatment, come off the pitch, went back on, and then went down again and looked very upset with himself. But we also know that guy's made of elastic, so he should be okay for Sunday. You never know. Let's hope and pray that he is, but we do have enough cover for him in that midfield. We are just hoping that Caicedo, being obviously one of our best players, is fit and ready for the final. Pedro Neto, he's turned into an absolute beast in this Club World Cup tournament. For me, player of the tournament. He's been unbelievable. Unbelievable. The way he's pressing and driving and getting assists and scoring goals throughout this tournament. He has been fantastic. And I said this many times last season. People used to say all Neto does is head down, runs down the line, crosses the ball in, and there's no one there. Well, I'll tell you what, with players like João Pedro, Delap, not so much Jackson, you're whipping the ball in to people like that who can do something in the air, who can either control the ball down or attack it in the air. we are going to see the GA of Neto go through the roof next season, because he has one of the most accurate crosses and we've had no aerial threat, but now we do. The amount of headers that we started winning today. Gusto had a chance from his head, unlucky with that, straight at the keeper. Pedro is getting very physical up in the aerial challenges. Obviously, we know we've got the likes of Tosin who are good in the air, etc. But honestly, it is looking good for us Chelsea fans. It's an exciting time. Chelsea walk into another final. It was only last month we were walking into the Conference League final, and yes, obviously you can only play who's in front of you. We still currently don't know who we're going to play. It's either Real Madrid or PSG, and either is a frightening opponent. Now, I'm a very optimistic Chelsea fan. You guys know that, and I feel like Chelsea can beat anyone on the day in a one-off game. It just depends what Chelsea turn up, but I'm really liking what I'm seeing from Enzo Maresca's new signings and what he's been cooking. Things really are looking like they're starting to click, and Chelsea look like a very hard team to beat. Not that we don't concede goals, but we are now starting to look a lot more frightening going forward, and we're looking a lot more fluid, winning the ball higher up in the pitch or recovering the ball deep and moving it quickly up the pitch. And I think it's going to be a lot of trouble for oppositions that we play next season. Maresca is tinkering with this system ever so slightly, changing things here and there with the personnel, and it seems to be working very well. Now, you could argue that and say Chelsea haven't played a decent team yet in the Club World Cup, and I always say to you, you can only play who's in front of you, and you have to respect your opponents, because as soon as you don't, you lose. And ever since we lost to Flamengo, we have completely changed things on its head and playing so much better, and things look like they have been clicking. Now, of course, whoever we face in the final is going to be an uphill battle and an enormous challenge for this very young squad. But I personally believe if we play like we did tonight, we are in with a very good shout of getting it over the line, especially if you're going to have people like João Pedro putting away half chances and converting them into goals. That is the game changer. I thought Palmer was very good tonight. A lot of people in my live watch along said he wasn't playing well. He was dropping so deep to receive the ball, and he was working well off the ball, making those connecting passes to make sure the attack could play on, even if he wasn't directly involved with an assist or a goal. Though he played well. And Nkunku seems to have a new breath of life into him. It looks like he's playing his way into this Chelsea team, so we do not sell him, which is wild to think about, because the writing's on the wall for Bayern Munich or Man United to come and pick him up for around 35-40 million pounds. We've also got the likes of Caicedo playing well. You've got the likes of everyone playing well. Tosin was solid, cool, calm, collected. Chalobah, solid. Even Gusto had a very good game today, especially comparative to the previous games he's played in the last few months, or even just under Enzo Maresca. He was solid today by his standards of where they are and what he performed today. I thought this was a very well put together victory from top to bottom. Sanchez made some good saves when he was called upon. Obviously, he had that mistake where the ball went past him and you could see the cogs turning. All right, granted, fair enough. But there was no sort of dodgy passes. There was no hesitation at the back. Other than that one moment, he was relatively solid, made good saves when it was needed to, collected the ball well. I think everyone from top to bottom played very well, did their job very well. So, very well worked victory, 2-0, another clean sheet. You could say we were fortunate with the penalty not being given and obviously the goal line clearance. But Chelsea go through after two unbelievable João Pedro goals. That goal from outside the box. When was the last time we've seen a Chelsea score from outside the box like that? Just a little touch to the side, bang, top corner. Have that. And yes, he did the whole I'm not celebrating against my boyhood club. I don't mind that if you're going to be banging him in the top corner, if you're going to be smashing him in off the crossbar, cool, you crack on, you keep doing that. That second goal, man, the way he cut inside and just pile drived it into the top corner off the crossbar, unreal, mate. It's just so refreshing to see, and it does give Enzo Maresca a good headache to have, because Nicholas Jackson came on. He came on in the second half, and you could see he had a bit between his teeth, and he was really trying to impress and having a point to prove. But you also looked very flustered at times. He looked very flustered. There was an opportunity where Palmer was not happy with him. We were on the break. Jackson had won the ball very high up, and he tries shooting, hits the side net, and all he needed to do was just square the ball 5 yards, and Palmer had a tap in for 3-0. Game over. And Palmer was not happy with him. But you also don't blame Jackson for trying to shoot from that angle, because he's got two players ahead of him in the pecking order, and he needs to pull his socks up and show Maresca that I should be the guy playing. Now, for being honest, there was a massive difference between the way João Pedro was playing and Nicholas Jackson playing. So there are big question marks over Nicholas Jackson at the moment, which I don't really know how to feel. Obviously, I've backed him for the last couple of seasons, but we have players like João Pedro and Delap coming in now that just seems to be a level above him. And I feel like Jackson is either going to get sold this summer or he's going to get left behind in that pecking order, unless it's down to injury or squad rotation through competitions. Because I don't see Jackson starting as our number 9 in the Premier League, especially not in the Champions League. Potentially FA Cup, potentially Carabao Cup. And again, we are still early days. We are still early days, things can change. But as of right now, I see either João Pedro or Delap being our number 9. And I mean, on current form, it's João Pedro hands down. He has to start as a number 9 on Sunday. After today's performance, chef's kiss. Unbelievable. But enough of me waffling about my thoughts and opinions. I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions about the game down below in the comments, and we're going to check the match stats to see if it lines up with the eye test. So as you can see, it ended up 2-0. João Pedro with a goal in the 18th minute and the 56th minute. And we're going to have a little look at the momentum, and we're going to see how this game panned out. Now, as you can see, Chelsea dominated large spells of this. You had this, especially in the first half, started off well. Then it was Fluminense who were trying to get back into the game. And if all honesty, I thought it was the other way around. I thought Fluminense started very, very well, and Chelsea were kind of just trying to not be rattled, settle into the game, get themselves comfortable. But then we had a big spell of domination, and then a very, very tiny changeover of momentum, and then easily swayed back to Chelsea when we scored that first goal, and then we went on to be a big, big period of domination. And then Fluminense had all the ball. They were knocking on the door. That's where they had their handball. That's where they had that goal line clearance, all in a short space of time. And because of that, Chelsea managed to pick back a bit of momentum, back to Fluminense, back to Chelsea, end of the half. And then the second half, completely different story. Chelsea dominated from the off. We got that second goal, really took the sting out of the game. Fluminense had a little bit of possession there. We then take it back, and then we basically see the game out. Fluminense had a bit of a spell right at the end of the game, putting a lot of pressure on. Obviously, it's a knockout competition. They were trying to knock on the door, trying to create chances, but nothing, no real big chances, nothing really happened for Fluminense, unfortunately. And Chelsea see the game out. And when you look at the stats of the match, ball possession was relatively close. I felt like Chelsea did dominate the game, but obviously Fluminense had the ball in other areas throughout the game, which contributes to their ball possession. But 46 to 54. The expected goals were 1.6 to their 0.92. Total shots, we had 5 more than them, 17 to 12, and big chances was 3 to 1. And obviously, player of the match, according to FootMob, was João Pedro of 8.7. And do you know what? I totally agree. He was the player of the match. He was the deciding factor of Chelsea going through to the final today, off of his half chances, which he converted to goals alone. And when we look at the events, obviously you can see João Pedro got his goal in the 18th minute, and in the 36th minute, Trevor Chalobah handballed it, and it went to VAR, and the penalty was cancelled. It was then half time, and then Fluminense made some changes, and then obviously João Pedro scored off the back of that with an Enzo Fernandez assist, which is another assist for Enzo's GA. There wasn't many yellow cards in this game, and I have to give credit to the officiating today. I think it was spot on, and I'm not saying that because we didn't, obviously the penalty wasn't given. Take that out of the equation. I felt like he did well. He wasn't so trigger happy with the yellow cards, and he was letting play go on at certain times where you thought he could have easily pulled up for a foul, knowing how the officiating has been so far in the Club World Cup. I think that the referee did well today. And as you can see, it was mainly 1 yellow card, 2 yellow cards, 3 yellow cards. Sanchez one was for time wasting, and a lot of it was just, rotation. João Pedro played 60 minutes. Jackson comes on, and then Mabueke and Reece James come on the 68th minute for Pedro Neto and Gusto. And then lastly, Santos comes on for Fernandez, and then we had Dewsbury Hall for Christopher and Kunku. And then essentially it was just rotation to see the game out, and Chelsea managed to do that very comfortably. And when we take a look at the lineup, it's a lot of green numbers, and to be honest, it's going to be hard to disagree with a lot of these, but let's look at it. Sanchez with a 7.8. I think that's relatively high considering he conceded and needed help from Cucurella with that goal line clearance. However, like I said, across the rest of the game, he was good when called upon, made some good saves. So I'll probably go with a 7.4, 7.5, but I'm not going to argue over 0.3 of a score. When it comes to Cucurella, I feel like 7.9 is a good score. I would have said he was probably an 8. A flat 8, to be honest. Same with Tosin. I would give him like a 7.8 or an 8, to be honest. He was very, very good today. Chalobah, again, I would give him 7.8 or an 8. I think they deserve a bit higher. They were just very, very good. And Gusto with a 7.3, I totally agree with. Like I mentioned, by his standards that he's been playing at recently, he was levels above what we've seen from him. He was very, very good today. Very pleased for him. He had a few chances, and it looks like that guy will never score for us unless it's an own goal, which is quite sad to see, really. He had a very good game, so I'm not arguing with a 7.3. Maybe I'd have pushed it to a 7.5 if I was being picky, but look, he's got green. We'll take that because I think that reflects fairly on the game. And when it comes to the two holder mids with Enzo Fernandez and Caicedo, again, I see them as fairly low. Now, whether that's because they played well, but they're fairly average games in terms of what we expect from them. Like a Caicedo was a typical Caicedo performance, but a typical Caicedo performance is amazing. So 7.4, okay, fair enough. I'd probably go 7, 8 or an 8, to be honest. I think he was very, very good. Enzo Fernandez, 7.8. Again, I don't think he was better than Caicedo. Maybe the assist boosts his ratings up a little bit. But I would have gone for, I think 7.8 is probably about fair for Enzo Fernandez. Now, Neto was actually on the left, and I think he had a very good game today. He worked his socks off, as he usually does. And, he pressed a lot, was creating a lot of chances. Shame he didn't get an assist, really, for all the things that he was creating. But I feel like a 7.4 is probably a fair rating. And this is what I was mentioning earlier about Cole Palmer. A lot of people saying he was ghosting because he didn't get an assist or a goal, and he was very quiet. His name wasn't mentioned too much. And what I was noticing, he was dropping very, very deep to pick the ball up, and he was still part of play, and he was very good off the ball today, giving space to other players and being able to connect the defence to midfield to attack, to allow other people to carry on what he'd built on. So I think a 7.4 is fair. I could probably push it to a 7.6 or a 7.8 if I'm being picky. He was very good today. It just wasn't, I didn't score, I didn't get assists. But when you take that out of it, he still had a very good game today. When it comes to Nkunku, again, another player who's breathing life, a new lease of life into his Chelsea career. I think a 7.3. I would have probably gone with a flat 7. And again, that's me just splitting hairs there. 7.3, cool, happy with that. He had a good game. And again, he looks bright, he's pressing, more aggressive, looks more confident. Just looks like he wants to be part of this Chelsea team. Now, I don't know whether he's trying to boost his market value for a bigger sale because he's playing well, or if he genuinely just wants to stay at Chelsea and work hard and fight his way back into the team. Either way, we will take it while he wears a Chelsea shirt because he was very good today. And we did see the Nkunku and Neto actually swapping during the game, being left and right and left, etc., which I also thought worked very well. I didn't think Fluminense really knew what to do with that. And then João Pedro with an 8.7. Now, I would have actually given him a 9. Personally, and again, splitting hairs are a 0.3. I'd give him a 9 for them 2 goals. He was outstanding. To get an 8.7 rating with 2 goals on a 60-minute appearance is very impressive for something like FootMob. And again, I know these aren't sort of gospel, and this is why I do my review and then try and see if this matches up. You guys seem to really like that. But I think a 9 would have been like a cherry on top type of rating for João Pedro. Now, when we look at the substitutes, we're going to go with, to be fair, there's only 3 that really need rating. Jackson comes on, got half out, 6.7. I think that was fair. I'd probably even give him less. I think he was probably a 6.4, 6.5. It's there or thereabouts. He wasn't very impressive. He was trying too hard. He get caught in possession a lot. He was pressing well. He did win the ball quite high up a few times. I'll give him that. But wasteful chances. Could have got an assist today, which would have definitely boosted his rating. But I don't think he was that good at all. Reece James with a 6.3. I think that's fairly harsh. He come on to do a job, and I felt like he did that job pretty well. I don't think he was bad. I think he was good. He just did his job, which was what he was coming on to do. Like 22 minutes left of the game. I think he just saw the game out as expected. Noni Madueke with a 6.2. I'll be honest, I think that seems a bit fair. You could probably argue it was like a 5.8 to a 6.2 or whatever if you want to split hairs. Just because, I'm not saying that he was bad, he was just non-existent. I forgot he was on the pitch. And I guess he was there to do a job, but I just forgot he was on the pitch. I didn't hear his name mentioned at all in that 22 minutes that he was on. So I think that rating's probably fair. And then Santos and Dewsbury Hall, they come on to do a job just to see the game out. They weren't on long enough to get a rating. But again, I can't imagine their ratings would be very high purely because they were on there for 5 minutes plus, or 4 minutes plus injury time. There's about 6 minutes of injury time. But overall, I think these ratings are pretty fair, pretty spot on. I agree with a lot of these. Again, if I'm splitting hairs and moving them up and down 0.3s or 0.2s or whatever, that's just me. But I would love to know your thoughts and opinions down below about the player rating side of things and the match review. Let me know your thoughts on the entire match. Who was your player of the match? Do you think it should have gone for João Pedro? Should it have been someone else? Very curious to know your thoughts down below in the comments. Do you agree with my match analysis? Do you agree with the match statistics? Let me know your thoughts and opinions down below in the comment section. I love having a conversation with you guys. And if you have watched this video all the way to the end, firstly, you're a real one, and I mean that. You are a real one. But secondly, there'll be a thumbnail appears on the screen. So if you are a Chelsea fan who enjoys Chelsea content, make sure to click that thumbnail because you'll enjoy that video too.